On January 28, 2025, former President Donald Trump made a notable statement regarding two NASA astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams, who were aboard the International Space Station ISS. Trump claimed that the astronauts were virtually abandoned in space and called upon SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, to retrieve them. This assertion led to a flurry of confusion and rebuttals from multiple sources, clarifying that the astronauts were not stranded and were safe, with a planned return already in place. Background of the situation: Wilmore and Williams were part of Boeing's CST-100 Starliner crewed flight test mission, which launched on June 5, 2024. The mission was initially projected to last between 8 to 10 days but faced significant challenges, including issues with the Starliner's propulsion system, specifically propellant leaks and pressurization problems. As a result, NASA officials made the decision in late August to keep the astronauts aboard the ISS instead of risking their return on an untested spacecraft. The Starliner capsule was subsequently brought down without a crew on September 7, 2024. Planned return to Earth. SpaceX had already planned to return Wilmore and Williams aboard a Crew Dragon spacecraft with 2 seats specifically reserved for them. The return was initially scheduled for early March 2025 but faced potential delays, possibly pushing the timeline to April 2025. This plan had been communicated and understood well before Trump's comments contradicting his portrayal of an urgent rescue operation. Mischaracterization of the situation. Trump's statements were met with widespread confusion. His assertion that the astronauts were stranded and abandoned was inaccurate. NASA officials clarified that Wilmore and Williams were safe and could return to Earth at NASA's discretion. They had not been left in space without support, rather. Their extended stay was a calculated decision made to ensure their safety and the integrity of the mission. The astronauts had expressed understanding and acceptance of this decision, displaying professionalism and adaptability in their roles. Political context and reactions. Trump's remarks were framed by some as an attempt to criticize the Biden administration, implying negligence in managing NASA's crewed space missions. However, NASA's former leadership had insisted that political influences did not dictate the operational decisions regarding the astronauts' extended stay. Bill Nelson, the former NASA administrator, stated unequivocally that politics played no role in the decision-making process. Elon Musk's response to Trump's comments further compounded the confusion. Musk echoed Trump's sentiments, suggesting urgency in bringing the astronauts home, which implied a coordinated effort to criticize the current administration. However, both Trump and Musk's comments overlooked the pre-existing framework for the astronauts' return and the lack of urgency surrounding their status. Summary of events and timeline. 1. June 5, 2024, Wilmore and Williams launch aboard the Starliner for a crewed flight test. 2. September 7, 2024, the Starliner capsule returns to Earth unmanned due to identified issues with Wilmore and Williams remaining on the ISS. 3. Late August 2024, NASA decides to extend the astronauts' stay based on a risk assessment. 4. September 28, 2024, SpaceX launches Crew Dragon to the ISS with 2 crew members, leaving 2 seats available for Wilmore and Williams. 5. December 17, 2024, NASA announces a delay for the Crew 10 mission, affecting the timeline for Wilmore and Williams' return. 6. January 28, 2025, Trump publicly requests SpaceX to bring the astronauts home, incorrectly labeling them as stranded. Conclusion. In conclusion, Trump's request for SpaceX to retrieve Wilmore and Williams sparked significant confusion about their actual status aboard the ISS. The astronauts were not stranded but were part of a planned mission extension, with their return already scheduled. The remarks made by Trump and Musk were criticized for misrepresenting the situation, which was clarified by multiple sources, including NASA officials. The astronauts were and remain safe, with their return to Earth anticipated as part of a structured crew rotation mission. In the context of former President Donald Trump's claims regarding two NASA astronauts aboard the International Space Station ISS, several counterintuitive aspects emerge that challenge common perceptions about space missions and the political framing surrounding them. 1. Stranded versus extended stay. Trump characterized astronauts Butch, Wilmore and Sunita Williams as virtually abandoned on the ISS. However, this assertion contradicts the reality of their situation. While the term stranded implies a lack of options and a dire need for rescue, the astronauts are actually safe and have the ability to return at NASA's convenience. They are not in a perilous position, instead they are engaged in ongoing research and activities aboard the station. 2. NASA's decision-making process. The decision to extend the astronauts' stay was made based on a risk assessment of their spacecraft, the Boeing CST-100 Starliner, which faced technical problems. NASA determined it was safer to keep Wilmore and Williams on the ISS rather than risk a potentially dangerous return flight. This contrasts with the narrative that their extended stay was a failure of management or a political issue, as NASA officials have consistently stated that the decisions were based purely on safety considerations. 3. SpaceX's role and existing plans. SpaceX was already scheduled to return Wilmore and Williams on a Crew Dragon spacecraft with seats specifically reserved for them. This existing plan undermines the urgency implied in Trump's statements, indicating that there was no abandonment that necessitated a new mission or rescue. Instead, the timeline for their return was a matter of operational scheduling rather than an emergency. 4. Political framing and miscommunication. Trump's comments seem to reflect a broader political strategy to blame the current administration for perceived failures in space policy. Both he and Musk's statements were positioned in a way that suggested negligence on the part of the Biden administration. However, NASA has consistently clarified that no political influences affected their operational decisions regarding the astronauts. This disconnect between political rhetoric and the scientific reality highlights how space exploration can become a pawn in political narratives. 5. Public misunderstanding of space operations. The general public may not fully grasp the complexities and safety protocols involved in space missions, leading to misunderstandings about what it means for astronauts to be stranded. The operational decisions made by NASA are often based on technical assessments that may not be immediately understood by those outside the field. In this case, the confusion was compounded by the way information was communicated by high-profile individuals like Trump and Musk, who used sensational language that misrepresented the astronauts' status. 6. Professionalism of the astronauts. Both Wilmore and Williams have expressed their understanding of and acceptance for the extended mission. Their professional attitude towards the situation contrasts sharply with the alarmist framing used by Trump and Musk, suggesting that the astronauts themselves do not view their circumstances as a crisis. This highlights a disconnect between the perceptions of experienced astronauts and the political narrative seeking to portray their situation as one of urgency and neglect. In summary, the situation surrounding Wilmore and Williams aboard the ISS showcases a mix of miscommunication, political maneuvering, and public misunderstanding. The astronauts are not stranded, rather they are part of a carefully planned and executed space mission. And the decisions regarding their stay were made with their safety and mission objectives in mind. This juxtaposition of reality against political rhetoric serves as a reminder of how easily information can be distorted in the public sphere, particularly in contexts as complex as space exploration. The recent comments made by former President Donald Trump regarding two NASA astronauts Butch, Wilmore and Sunita Williams, who he claimed were virtually abandoned on the International Space Station ISS, have sparked significant confusion and misinformation within the public and media discourse. This situation is critical to analyze not only for its immediate implications but also for the broader context of space exploration politics, the collaboration between governmental and private entities, and public understanding of space missions. Important content often overlooked. 1. Mischaracterization of the astronaut's status. One of the most significant aspects of this incident is the mischaracterization of the astronaut's situation. The astronauts are not stranded, they are safely aboard the ISS, and their extended stay was a decision made by NASA based on safety assessments related to the Starliner spacecraft's issues. This is crucial because it highlights the importance of accurate communication in space exploration. Misleading narratives can lead to public panic or distrust in space agencies, undermining the credibility of institutions that operate under complex and high-stakes conditions. The astronauts themselves have been reported to be professional and accepting of their situation, indicating that they understand the mission's requirements and risks. 2. Role of SpaceX in NASA's decision-making. The fact that SpaceX had already planned the return of Wilmore and Williams via the Crew Dragon spacecraft is another critical point that often gets overshadowed. This planned return underscores the collaborative nature of modern space missions and the reliance on commercial partnerships to ensure the safety and success of space travel. It also exemplifies NASA's pragmatic approach to problem-solving in space exploration, as they prioritize the astronauts' safety by keeping them in a stable environment rather than risking a premature return under suboptimal conditions. Understanding this collaboration is essential for grasping how space missions are conducted today and how governmental agencies are integrating private sector capabilities. 3. Political implications and narrative control. Trump's remarks can be seen as an attempt to politicize the events surrounding Wilmore and Williams, blaming the Biden administration for the situation. This not only misrepresents the facts but also serves as a strategy to engage in broader political discourse. The significance of this lies in how public narratives around space missions can be co-opted for political gain, potentially influencing public perception of space programs and their administration. The immediate response from officials, including former NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, who refuted any political influence on the decision-making process, emphasizes the need for transparency and factual communication in governmental operations, particularly in high-profile and technologically complex fields like space exploration. For the public understanding of space missions, the confusion surrounding the astronaut status also highlights a broader issue of public understanding of space missions. Many may not grasp the complexities of mission planning, risk assessment, and operational protocols that govern space travel. This incident underscores the necessity for improved science communication strategies that can help demystify space exploration for the general public. Increasing public literacy about space missions could foster greater trust and support for ongoing and future endeavors in space exploration. 5. Impact on future missions. The miscommunication surrounding this incident may have implications for future missions. If the public perceives that astronauts are at risk or that missions are poorly managed, it could affect funding and support for NASA and similar initiatives. The narrative created by political figures can shape public perception and consequently the political will to fund and support space exploration initiatives. The significance of maintaining a positive factual narrative about space missions cannot be understated. It is essential for sustaining public interest and investment in future exploration efforts. Conclusion. In summary, the incident involving Trump's comments about astronauts Wilmore and Williams encapsulates several critical themes in the realm of space exploration: the importance of accurate communication, the role of collaboration between government and commercial entities, the politicization of space missions, and the necessity for public understanding of complex space activities. Recognizing these overlooked aspects is vital for fostering a more informed public dialogue about space exploration and the multifaceted challenges it entails. This situation serves as a reminder that clarity, transparency, and factual representation in communication are essential, not only for the credibility of space agencies but also for the future of exploration as a shared human endeavor. 1. Mischaracterization of astronaut status. The central point of confusion revolves around Trump's claim that astronauts Butch, Wilmore, and Sunita Williams are virtually abandoned on the ISS. Sources unanimously clarify that the astronauts are not stranded, they are safely aboard the ISS and can return when NASA decides. This mischaracterization not only raises questions about public perception of space operations but also highlights the importance of accurate communication in media narratives, especially concerning high-stakes environments like space missions. 2. SpaceX's planned role in astronaut return. Despite Trump's request for SpaceX to retrieve the astronauts, it is crucial to note that SpaceX already has a scheduled mission to bring them back. The Crew Dragon spacecraft has been prepared to accommodate Wilmore and Williams, demonstrating the efficacy of the NASA-SpaceX partnership. This aspect of the situation showcases the advanced planning and coordination that characterize modern space missions, illustrating how commercial entities play an integral role in NASA's operations. 3. Political context and implications. Trump's comments and Musk's support echo a broader political narrative that seeks to assign blame for perceived failures in space management to the Biden administration. However, NASA's officials have consistently stated that decisions regarding the astronauts' extended stay were made based on safety assessments, devoid of political influence. This dynamic underscores the intersection of politics and science and the potential for misinformation to fuel partisan debates around governmental operations. For public communication and information clarity, the situation highlights the need for clear and accurate communication from both governmental agencies and private companies in the space sector. Confusion stemming from statements made by political figures and media interpretations can lead to public misunderstanding regarding the complexities and realities of space missions. The response from NASA and industry experts reinforces the importance of transparency in operations, ensuring that the public is informed about the status of missions and the rationale behind decisions made by space agencies. 1. Apollo 13, 1970. The Apollo 13 mission is perhaps one of the most famous cases of astronauts facing a life-threatening situation in space. After an oxygen tank exploded en route to the moon, the crew, Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hayes, had to abort their lunar landing. They were not stranded in the conventional sense but were in grave danger and had to rely on quick thinking and resourcefulness from both the astronauts and mission control to ensure their safe return to Earth. The incident highlighted the importance of teamwork, ingenuity, and problem-solving in overcoming dire circumstances in space. 2. Soyuz 11, 1971. The Soyuz 11 mission involved a tragic outcome where 3 cosmonauts, Georgy Dobrovolsky, Viktor Patsayev, and Vladislav Volkov, died after returning to Earth. This mission was notable because the crew spent 23 days aboard the Salyut-1 space station, and upon re-entry a cabin depressurization occurred. Although they were not stranded in space, the mission underscored the dangers of space travel and the critical importance of safety protocols. It led to significant changes in the design of spacecraft to enhance crew safety during re-entry. 3. Mir Space Station, 1997. In 1997, the Russian Mir space station faced a critical situation when a collision with a resupply ship caused significant damage. The crew aboard the station, including American astronaut Jerry Linenger, was not technically stranded as they had the means to return home, but the incident raised serious concerns about the safety and viability of long-term missions in space. The quick response and problem-solving abilities of the crew and ground control were essential in managing the crisis and ensuring the continued operation of the station, demonstrating the resilience required in space exploration. Future outlook. Predictions for space travel and administration dynamics. As we move forward into the latter half of the 2020s, the landscape of space travel, particularly concerning NASA and commercial partners like SpaceX, is poised for significant evolution driven by technological advancements, political dynamics, and public interest. 1. Increased collaboration between NASA and commercial entities. The partnership between NASA and private companies like SpaceX is likely to deepen. As demonstrated by the recent incident involving astronauts Wilmore and Williams, the reliance on private entities for crew transportation and other missions will continue to grow. This trend suggests that NASA will increasingly outsource certain missions and leverage the rapid innovation that private companies can provide. Future contracts will likely focus more on performance-based outcomes, rewarding companies that demonstrate reliability and safety in crewed missions. 2. Political influence on space policy. Political narratives surrounding space exploration will remain a significant factor. The recent comments from Donald Trump highlight how space missions can become intertwined with political discourse. As space exploration and technology become even more critical to national pride and geopolitical strategy. Future administrations will likely use space policy to showcase technological prowess and international leadership. This could lead to increased budget allocations for NASA and its partners, although the focus may shift based on the prevailing political climate. 3. Advancements in spacecraft technology. The technology behind crewed spacecraft is expected to progress rapidly. Issues like those experienced with Boeing's Starliner will lead to more rigorous testing and improved safety protocols. Innovations in propulsion systems, life support technologies, and autonomous operations will enhance the reliability of missions. Furthermore, the successful integration of artificial intelligence in spacecraft operations could allow for more complex missions with reduced human oversight, ultimately paving the way for longer duration flights to destinations like Mars. 4. Extended missions in deep space exploration. With the advancement of technology and a better understanding of space travel, missions to the Moon and Mars will become more feasible. NASA's Artemis program aims to return humans to the Moon by the mid-2020s, setting the stage for sustained lunar presence. This will serve as a testing ground for technologies and strategies needed for Mars exploration. By the end of this decade, we may witness the first crewed missions to Mars driven by both NASA and commercial interests. 5. Public engagement and interest in space travel. Public interest in space exploration will likely continue to grow, fueled by successful missions and media coverage. Increased visibility of missions like those involving SpaceX's Crew Dragon and high-profile astronaut missions will engage younger generations and inspire interest in STEM fields. This growing enthusiasm may lead to a push for more commercial opportunities in space travel, including space tourism, research missions, and educational outreach programs, making space more accessible to the general public. 6. International cooperation in space exploration. As space exploration becomes a focal point for technological advancement and international cooperation, new alliances are expected to form. Nations will seek to collaborate on missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond, sharing resources, knowledge, and technologies. The International Space Station (ISS) may evolve into a more collaborative platform, welcoming participation from emerging space nations. This global cooperation will be crucial in addressing challenges such as space debris management and sustainable practices in orbit. 7. Regulatory frameworks in space law. The rapid expansion of commercial space activities will necessitate the development of robust regulatory frameworks. Governments will need to establish clear guidelines for space traffic management, ownership of extraterrestrial resources, and planetary protection protocols. As private companies venture into space, their activities will raise questions of accountability and governance, compelling international bodies to work towards a cohesive legal structure that addresses these challenges. 8. Sustainability in space operations. The need for sustainable practices will become increasingly critical in space operations. As the number of missions grows, so too does the potential for space debris and its impact on future missions. Innovations in debris mitigation technologies and sustainable spacecraft designs will be necessary. Future missions will prioritize minimizing environmental impacts both in space and during launches as public scrutiny of space activities increases. Conclusion. The future of space exploration is poised for transformative changes influenced by technological advancements, political dynamics, and public engagement. As NASA, SpaceX, and other entities navigate these challenges, their collaborative efforts will not only redefine human presence in space but also inspire a new generation of explorers. The coming decade will be crucial in shaping how humanity continues to explore and understand the universe beyond our planet.